A school and academic year is around the corner, so you might consider taking up language classes or continue your language adventure. The question that might pop up in your mind is whether you should learn it with a native speaker or not. Today, I'm gonna show you the pros and cons of such a solution and try to advise you the best I can concerning your language skills a bit and regardless of the language you learn. So let's assume you are already fluent and communicative and you want to work on your fluency and overcome the language barrier. You decide to take conversation classes which will allow you to expand your vocab, so learn idiomatic expressions, colloquialisms, basically slang expressions, and immerse in the living language. You feel your grammar is quite good and you just want to use it more in speaking. Your skills let you have everything explained in the language you're learning without the help of your mother tongue. And you don't need to be led through the process of learning grammar, listening, or reading. In such a scenario, conversation classes with a native speaker who is not a language teacher might turn out to be a good solution. In this case, the degree in teaching and the knowledge on the whole process of learning is not so crucial. Your native speaker might have a different profession. They might be doctors, or they might be farmers, or they might be journalists. And it doesn't matter because you will just talk. Native speakers have a lot of slang expressions up their sleeves and will make you feel more familiar with an accent of a particular region. So if you want to practice a particular accent, you can find a native speaker who uses the accent that you really care for. And if you just care for speaking and building the flow, you are ready to fully immerse in the language, go for it. However, you may have cool conversation classes with a non-native speaker who is a language teacher as well. The only thing that the native speakers have the advantage over non-native teachers is the accent. Of course, you may find a teacher with a perfect accent, but there might always be the sounds that will give a non-native speaker away. And when it comes to vocab, slang, living language, all of these expressions, etc., find a passionate professional who might not be a native speaker, but will have a profound knowledge and excellent skills. Plus, it will probably be a language teacher, so they will know the whole process of learning and will be able to explain grammar to you as well. And when it comes to grammar, I do not dare to say native speakers don't know grammar rules of their own language at all. The thing is, they might not be able to explain it as it should be done. And I'm still referring to native speakers whose profession is not teaching. So they might simply give you an answer just because, or it is the way we speak, to the questions you may have concerning grammar. It may happen because they acquired the language as children through immersion, so without learning any rules. They learned some rules afterwards during their school years. And let's be honest, do you remember grammar classes of your mother tongue at school? And if you remember, did you enjoy the grammar classes? Were they fun? So you know what I mean? We, as native speakers, we really do not care so much when it comes to grammar rules because the rules came afterwards. Can you give me all the answers and explain all the syntax stuff in your mother tongue? If I ask you why is it so? Of course, it might depend on your mother tongue and its grammar complexity, but still, I am more than sure you will not be able to explain everything. It's because we learn the mother language first and then we learn the rules. And why our brains should bother to memorize some rules if we already know and we knew at that time how to use the language? And I experienced both, being taught by the native speaker and teaching Polish as a foreign language. Hence, I am taking the liberty of suggesting learning grammar with the language teacher or with a person who knows all the rules, not just with a native speaker who was immersed in the language. So the first experience is my Arabic studies. So during my Arabic studies, I had conversation classes with a Syrian man, but other subjects with academic teachers from Poland. And we were taught the rules by Polish teachers and had some speaking practice with a native speaker. And the native speaker, the Syrian guy, somehow undermined the knowledge of the Polish academic teachers. Why so? Because when we had classes with him, he was like, "It is not the way we talk. You say it all wrong." And I remember our confusion when he corrected our grammar, saying it is not the way the Arabic people talk. And I do agree with him to some extent, since the Arabic language is so rich in dialects, even the Arabic people from different countries may have a struggle with understanding each other. But still, we were learning Fusha, so the grammatically correct language and the base and the core of the Arabic language. So it was not okay just to, tell us that we were wrong speaking this way. And Fusha is used for the academic purposes, but still, it's a base for the dialects. So you must learn this language first, and then you can start learning dialects. And I'm not saying our conversation teacher didn't know Fusha, he was well educated. However, in my view, he shouldn't have been causing the confusion in our heads saying we shouldn't be talking this way. And he should have explained his grammar to us, but he didn't. And he couldn't prove that the rules we were being taught by the other teachers were wrong, and he couldn't prove that he was right. He was just saying that's the way we talk, and we knew our teachers were correct as well. And my experience from the other side as a teacher, but still with a crazy language. So me, a Polish person, teaching my mother tongue as a foreign language to a Bulgarian student who was very ambitious. And to my luck, and to my student's terror, we had to practice grammar for his study purposes. And you know what? The level was not supposed to be a rocket science, it was just A2. Not a rocket science on the surface, of course, but with Polish grammar and the language itself, it is tricky even when you study the basics. Anyway, when we were doing the exercises, everything was going very smoothly. I was able to give him the correct answers, correct noun declension forms or conjugation forms, all of the prefixes and suffixes you have to use when you create different word forms for different genders and plural forms and Finnish, unfinished aspects and so on. I did it with ease and automatically because my native speaker's brain was activated and not exhausted at all. However, when it came to my students' questions, but why is it this way? What's the rule? Or why this one doesn't follow the rule is an exceptional word. Guess what? Sometimes I had to figure it out quickly in my mind to answer his questions correctly or double check in the dictionary. And quite often I figure out the rule the moment he asked me, and it was for the first time in my life, and I was in my 20s. And up to that point, I didn't have to know the rule. So this is a great experience, like a great situation proving how our native speaker's brain works when you use your mother tongue. And of course, as a language teacher in general, I know a lot about grammar in general, but never had I had to dig so deeply in the Polish grammar than when I had to explain it to foreign students. So you see, I'm a language teacher. I know the process of learning the language, but still, it took quite an effort to explain the crazy grammar of my mother tongue. And honestly, my brain was knackered. And as much as a fantastic experience it was, I prefer to explain the English grammar to people. So imagine you are taking the language classes with a native speaker who has no idea about teaching. How much can you bet they will explain the rules to you as they should be explained? Because saying it is just like that or leaving it to you to understand it on your own is out of the question in my view. Furthermore, we tend to make more mistakes in our mother tongue and we made to know grammar rules of a foreign language better than in our native language because we don't pay so much attention to it when we speak our mother tongue. And we tend to focus more on correctness when we speak a foreign language. And I guess the objectively harder the language is, the harder it is for the native speaker to explain something and avoid making mistakes. And of course, making mistakes is an inseparable part of learning and speaking. And it is fine to make mistakes and learn from them. But you want to work with somebody who will correct them when it is needed. You, as the learner, should have the freedom to make them. Imagine getting ready for some exams or working at very high levels, or even not that high ones when it comes to difficult languages such as Polish. You must have the rules explained professionally. So how would I rank the best solutions? Equally, a native speaker who is a language teacher and might know your mother tongue at least a bit, or an awesome language teacher who is not a native speaker. If they are awesome, they will know the language inside out and they will not be taken aback by your tricky questions, and they will freely use slang and they will show you a process of learning. And they will use your mother tongue to help you understand some concepts. Believe me, your mother tongue may be your ally in the language learning process. And don't be scared to use it when it is needed. The only thing the non-native speaker may not have is the accent, but it does not have to apply to everyone. There are still plenty of wonderful non-native teachers whose accents will not give away their origins. And whatever you choose, learning with a native speaker or not, may the classes be a cool experience. It was Kasia speaking to you. Till next time. Bye-bye.